Hi, I'm Russell Smith, and I wasn't going to do this broadcast because the general election was so in the bag for Theresa May that I didn't really think it was worth it. However, because the polls are narrowing, I want to give you an insight into what I think the tax changes are going to be if Theresa May or if Jeremy Corbyn wins the election. So Theresa May, in the budget, the last budget in March, Theresa May tried to increase the Class 4 national insurance on self-employed people, and essentially what that meant was that self-employed people would be paying 31% tax instead of 29% tax, which was quite a big jump. Now the reason why they tried to increase it to 31 was because employees usually pay about 32% tax, so they were trying to align the employed people and the self-employed people. Now, if you've been reading the papers, you'll know that that kind of centrepiece of the budget got U-turned, so they stopped it. However, the only reason they stopped it was because of the 2015 manifesto, which said that they weren't going to increase income tax, national insurance or VAT. Now with Theresa May, if she wins, she'll have a new mandate, new manifesto, she can kind of do what she wants. So I think there is every chance that if you are self-employed, you will see your tax go up to 31% by the next 2 years. Probably will go up 30% next year and 31% next year, because they philosophically think that actually it'd be better for self-employed people and employed people to pay the same amount of tax. Now, forgetting the fact that self-employed people don't actually enjoy the same benefits as employed people, like holiday pay, sick pay, training, appraisals, all that stuff, computer equipment, etc., etc. That doesn't matter, that's what they think. So I suspect that will happen. Now, in terms of overall increases of tax with Theresa May, I'm not too sure. One thing that is quite interesting is the corporation tax rate. So obviously, if you're a small business, you're a limited company director and you're running a limited company, the tax rate at the moment is 19%. Now, it was only a few years ago that the tax rate was 28% for corporation tax for large companies and generally about 22, 23 for smaller companies. Now it's 19, and interestingly, it's going down to 17% in 2020. So if you compare limited company directors paying 17% with self-employed paying 31%, well, that's a big difference. Now, they did bring in the dividend tax to try and marry it up a bit, but it's still way more tax effective to be a small business limited company. But here's what's interesting about this corporation tax issue, is that actually the corporation tax rate going from 28% to 17% in a matter of years was actually George Osborne's idea. Now, George Osborne, as you probably know, is nowhere in the government. In fact, he's the editor of the London Standard. So it doesn't seem to me that Theresa May will continue that decrease. So whether or not corporation tax will go up under Theresa May, I suspect it probably will, which is not great news for limited companies. The only thing to say about that is if in the event in 2 years' time we crash out of Europe and don't have a deal, then potentially Philip Hammond has been talking about slashing corporation tax rates down to sort of 5%. Well, that would be interesting. However, if you think that voting Conservative may avoid, or voting Labour may increase the corporation tax rate, well, Jeremy Corbyn wants to increase corporation tax to 26%. So a huge jump from 17% to 26%. So if you're a limited company director, you kind of need to keep your eye on that, because if you vote Labour, you might see your corporation tax go up. Now, I don't know what Labour would do with the dividend tax, because if it did go up to 26% in corporation tax, income tax would have to come down for dividend tax. Otherwise, limited company directors would be paying more tax than anybody else, employed or self-employed. So essentially what I'm saying here is, tax is going to increase whoever you vote for. They need to plug the deficit, and whilst you don't hear much about the deficit these days, the deficit is still there. They need to raise revenue. If you're Labour, you need to raise it because you need to pay for all the things they've promised. If you're Conservative, you need to raise it because they are supposed to be the party who's responsible in terms of balancing the books. So either way, tax is going up. Who knows which one it will be, but my money will be on the self-employed tax rate going up to 31% as being a given. You can find out if I'm right in a couple of months, but check out my YouTube channel and see if I'm right. I'm Russell Smith.